Okay, how's it going, everybody? I hope you're all doing well. Okay, so in this episode, I thought I'd try to, very briefly, say something about Daniel Defoe's novel, Robinson Crusoe. You know, the story about that guy who gets shipwrecked and has to spend 28 years on a deserted island. Okay, so there's something that I find really fascinating about Robinson Crusoe and his situation. And actually, maybe the best way to get into this is by first saying something about the philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau and what he has to say in his great book on education called Émile, a book about the education of the young boy, Émile. You see, in there, he has Émile's tutor make the first book the young Émile read, Robinson Crusoe. That's it. That's the only book he's to have access to. Nothing else. It's to be his entire library. Okay, now, why? What's so important about Robinson Crusoe for Rousseau? What's its educational value? Well, one very important thing it will teach Émile, Rousseau argues, is a kind of psychological strength and independence. You see, Rousseau thinks that most of us, civilized as we are prone to be in bondage to the opinions of others, and so to form all sorts of misguided and unnecessary beliefs and desires. Well, okay, so here's the thing though. Robinson Crusoe just doesn't have this problem. No, because he's all alone. There's no garbage or superficialities to be influenced by. He can just focus in on what's important. He can judge everything with respect to his own utility. In other words, he's not concerned with vanity projects here. He's not concerned with how he looks in the eyes of others. He just hones in on what's really most essential. And he's only concerned with the functional value of things, not how much he can make from something. So all this is what Émile learns from reading Robinson Crusoe, Rousseau thinks. He learns at an early age to escape the influence of vanity and luxury and the empty and harmful opinions of others. Now, surely there's some wisdom in this, no? Wouldn't we all be a little better off, not being stranded on an island, of course, but if we started off in life mostly free from opinions that encourage superficiality and affectation? Anyway, you know, speaking of things like the concern for luxury, it's interesting that before Crusoe gets shipwrecked, he was a pretty profit-driven person, always looking to travel around and acquire and get more things. But what getting stranded on the island did, where money was basically useless, what it did is it taught him how to learn to be content with both where he was and with what he had. As he himself says, he says, "On the island, I had nothing to covet, and I learned to consider what I enjoyed rather than what I wanted." Now, sure, Crusoe's insight here may be temporary, circumscribed by his very unique situation, of course. But nevertheless, he came to feel gratitude for what he had, and to not always look for what he didn't have. He was no longer tormented by the imaginary needs that he used to have and all those insatiable desires. He realized that everything he needed was all around him on that island. In fact, as he himself says, he had infinitely more on that island than he knew what to do with. Now, that's often the tragic irony about so many of us, isn't it? It's that we think that by living in a world full of continuous material excess, that ultimate contentment is just at our fingertips. But what we often fail to realize, it seems, is that true abundance isn't always in the more. It's in the essential. As Epicurus said, wealth beyond what is natural is no more use than an overflowing container. Nature provides us with more wealth than we ever needed. Something Robinson Crusoe happily discovered, at least for a while. Bye for now.